Hello everyone and welcome to my mock lesson for Breakthrough Collaborative Cambridge. My name is Stephanie Vidal and these are my students Rebecca, Ashley, and Rachel. I'm applying for the social studies, so today I will be teaching primary and secondary sources. So let's get to it. Okay, so the objective of the lesson is that I need my students to walk away knowing the difference between primary and secondary sources. So you guys got that? So sources, what do I mean by sources? Is it like a source of water? What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about historical sources. So I'm talking about books, films, art, newspapers, letters, all of that awesome stuff that's out there that historians use to do what they do, which is basically history. So now that we know what sources are, I'm going to go over what a primary source is. A primary source is basically an original document that was produced during a historical time period. It was produced during that time period, so an example of that would be this. This is a letter by one of our founding fathers, John Adams, and he wrote this letter to his wife Abigail during the Revolutionary period. So that's obviously a primary source. You can see his writing. This is an engraving that was printed in a newspaper during the time period, and it was done after the Battle of Lexington and Concord. So those are both examples of primary sources. Now secondary sources. Now that you guys know what a primary source is, do you guys want to take a guess at what a secondary source is? You just say it, you don't have to raise your hand.
Source created afterwards?
Yeah, exactly. So a primary source is something that was created during the time period. A secondary source is the exact opposite. It was actually created after the fact. So these are some examples. Your textbook for history is considered to be a secondary source because it's just a compilation of just a lot of details and stuff about the events, and you get a lot of information, background information. This was a painting done in 1865, so almost 100 years after the Boston Tea Party. And so it's obviously a secondary source because this person couldn't have lived during the time period. And this is a famous book called The Americanization of Benjamin Franklin, written by Gordon Woods. It's basically just, he's trying to unmask who our founding father was. You get to learn about his personality and everything. So that's obviously giving background information about Ben Franklin, and that is not a primary source. So this is a lovely document that all of you guys should be familiar with. Does anybody want to say what it is? Don't all jump up at once.
Declaration of Independence.
Yes, it's the Declaration of Independence. As you can see, there's a famous John Hancock, huge signature. And does anybody want to guess as to what the Declaration of Independence is, whether or not it's a primary source or a secondary source?
A primary source?
Yes, good job, Ashley. Yeah, it's definitely a primary source because it was written in 1776, which is the time period that we're talking about right now. So this is the preamble to the Declaration of Independence. Does anybody want to go ahead and read this aloud for us? Any takers? Oh, I got some shy ones here, huh? All right, well, I'll go ahead and read it. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. So that's just a bunch of jibber jabber. So that's the primary source. The secondary source would be an analysis of the preamble, and this is from a book called The Annotated Constitution and Declaration of Independence, and it basically it takes just line by line, and it analyzes each and every line. So that's a secondary source. So he just goes through and he talks about what everything means, which is basically that what our founding fathers were saying in that preamble is that, okay, hey, British Empire, we don't want to, be friends with you anymore. You obviously haven't been good to us. So we are going to sever our ties and become our own nation. And they're basically letting everyone know, not just the British Empire, but the entire world, that, hey, America's coming up, we're new, and we're going to do this. So that's basically what they're going through. So sources, like I said, are not just text. Texts are the most popular ones, but also engravings, paintings, art, all of that is also used. And images are more powerful, they convey a more powerful message. So what we're going to do during this activity is I'm going to show you two images, and you guys are going to tell me which one is the primary source and which one is the secondary source, and you're going to explain why. So this first one is Paul Revere's The Bloody Massacre. It was engraved in 1770. It's really chaotic. It shows what happened during the Boston Massacre. British redcoats are shooting into a crowd of unarmed colonists. There are people on the floor bleeding to death. There's a dog. So obviously, whoever has a dog are the innocents, right? So it obviously portrays the British in a bad light. And this was very politicized, and everyone saw this engraving. It was very popular. The next one is something that you guys have all probably seen at what time in your life, in elementary school or something. This is John Trumbull's Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. So you see all our founding fathers, they're signing the Declaration. So this was painted in 1817. Based on what you've seen, which one's the primary source?
The first one?
The first one. Great. And why is that?
Because it was painted during that time period.
Exactly. And this is the secondary source. Why?
Because it was painted after.
Exactly. There you go. So yeah, it seems like you guys definitely got the idea of what a primary source and a secondary source is. Just a quick fact. This actually never happened. All of our founding fathers were not in the same room to sign the Declaration of Independence. It was just passed along, it traveled all over the place, and it was finally finished they finally finished signing it on August 2nd. But we still commemorate it during July 4th, and that's when we have all our fireworks and everything, and we celebrate our independence. Alright, any questions? Okay, so that basically concludes my mock lesson. Thank you very much for listening. Gather around the teacher and learn a timeline cheer. A T-I-M-E-L-I-N-E cheer. Now history is made up of dates, so I'm here to help you get them straight. Timelines, you're all that I need.
To help you keep those dates and beat. To help you keep those dates and beat. What? Bust the beat.